Welcome to Beyond Bacalhau, Cracking the Portuguese Business Code by Raquel Batista. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of my podcast, Beyond Bacalhau, Cracking the Portuguese Business Code. And I'm here with Vera Neves. Now, she is the perfect virtual assistant, and we are going to go around her tasks and around what it is to be a virtual assistant, because let me tell you, I don't think there is a more important function or job to back up any entrepreneur that wants to really focus on their business. So we've been talking about what it takes to build a business in Portugal, and one of the things that I think is most crucial is the delegation of tasks. So Vera Neves, hi and welcome.
Hi.
Vera Neves works with me, so we are a team, and we've been going on for over a year now, right? And
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for
a project or something.
I couldn't ask for a better person to be on my team. So I'll pass the mic on to you so you can introduce yourself or say whatever you want to.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. So I'm your virtual assistant and virtual assistant to other entrepreneurs, mostly women. That's what has come through to me. Maybe that's the vibe I put out in the world, and people find me, or I find them. I don't know. You tell me what you think.
I think it's destiny. You probably find each other.
But so I'm very communicative, and I was always the type of person that didn't want to be still behind a desk in a 9 to 5, grinding away for a set wage and see my life go by. So I've never wanted that for me. So when my son was born, I was like, I'm out of it. I'm out of this business of working for others and do what other wants from me and being in routinely tasks that say nothing to me. I've worked in a lot of different corporate office jobs, didn't find a passion on any of them. And I came across with the opportunity to be a VA. So I started with admin tasks, helping people with emails and data analysis and things like that, like I used to do in my previous jobs. But then, because I really like communication, I started to delve deeper into brand communication, marketing, started to do a few courses, started working on it. My very dear customers have always been very open for me to take on extra roles and extra duties within their own businesses. And here I am now, which I'm mostly working in the communication side of things on businesses and not so much on the admin anymore. I still do it sometimes. But being a VA is great because I see the results I give you. I see how I can help you directly, and I can have a thriving business of my own without depending on obviously a corporate business that is focusing on me as an employee.
But let me commend you, Vera, because it took you far less years than me to realize that that rat race of 9 to 5 and working for someone else is the worst thing that you could do. And the best thing, and I didn't have an entrepreneurial mindset at all. And I commend you because I think that it was difficult. Of course, there were a lot of difficulties with doing that move, but I think you so naturally entered the entrepreneur space, and you knew how to adapt your roles and your tasks, and you knew where you wanted to go. You knew what training you wanted to go to, and I think it's not everyone that knows the direction that they can take, and most importantly, that actually have the training and abilities and skills to do what they set out to do. Because we know that a lot of times people in this space think they know it all, but it takes a lot of training, and it takes a lot of time invested in training to know what you know. So walk me through all the training and all the things and your hard path that you had to get that you had to do to get here, and how you adapt your work to each brand. Because I know in these 2.5 years that I've had my business, I've changed my brand. And quite recently, we've changed collectively together my brand significantly. And you adapted, it was nothing. And you have the ability to be inside people's head. And I think that's just like, I don't know how you do it, because I didn't need to say that much. We had a couple of meetings, and the next thing I knew, you were writing newsletters and I was reading them, and like, because you knew how to get inside my head and my brand and my space. So how do you adapt your job to each one of your clients?
I'm Portuguese. I studied in Portugal. Then I wasn't happy at all with Portugal when I was in my early 20s. I wasn't happy at all. We were in the middle of a recession. It was really difficult. It was really hard. So I packed my bags and I said, I'm going to be an au pair in the UK for a year. And I went. I went to be an au pair in the UK for a year. And then I decided I was not staying a year. I was going to try to further my studies and pursue higher education over there. And what was meant to be a 1 year adventure just for me to get away from Portugal and have a refreshing new experience turned into 6 years abroad. Yes. I'm the kind of person that when I put something in my head, I'm like, I'm going through with it. It
You
may
have to, as an
maybe
entrepreneur, right?
I'm going through with it, and I'm going to find out if it's a bad idea. I will feel it in my own body, in my own soul. I'm not waiting for someone else to do it. I'm just like, I'm doing it and learning from it. And so I did. I went to the UK. I stayed there for 6 years. I studied over there. I had multiple jobs over there. Then Brexit happened, and I was like, you know what? I'm very mad with the UK right now, so I'm going back to Portugal, and I did. And I returned. I got married. I had a kid, and the pandemic was over us.
What a timing.
So, and it was in the midst of the pandemic and having my kid that I decided to do this. And obviously, it takes years for people to learn things that I'm doing right now. And I'm still learning as I go. It's impossible. It would be ridiculous for me to say that I know everything to do about branding or marketing or communication or whatever. Absolutely not. There are many, many people way, way, way more knowledgeable than I am. The main thing for me is okay, I have some facility in talking and in writing and communicating, and I decided that that would be an asset that I have. As with the speaking English and Portuguese and understanding the intricacies of the language, like you say so many times. I've been learning English since I was a kid. My parents paid for me to have English classes from the point I was 7 years old, from the point I went to primary school. So I was very lucky and very privileged in that sense. But obviously, the years in UK, those 6 years were massive for my language skills, absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, the most amazing thing that I think you do is you have different clients. We know that your universe is mostly women entrepreneurs. But how are you able to adapt to different businesses? And I know you have a lot of different businesses very different than mine. How do you adapt, and how do you get inside the head of your clients?
You guys are all different. I've never worked with two people in the same sort of business at the same time for many reasons. One, because it never happened, so just chance. Second, I wouldn't want it to happen anyway, because I think it would be a little bit against, not
Yeah.
very ethical to be working in two businesses that are competing against each other. So I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. And then I am lucky that the people who work with me really just share truthfully what their goals are, what their objectives are, and who they are at their core. So I feel like I've been working with you for over a year, Raquel, but I know we have known each other for over than 2 years because we had a project and we stopped, and then we took on this longevity role with me inside Lighthouse. And I feel like I know you. I feel like you always talked with me in a way that it wasn't just service provider to business owner. It was always a very organic conversation, organic sharing of values, purpose, and objectives. And then it's just a matter of analyzing what you are already doing in the sense of organically content that you have and the way that you portray yourself when you talk about your business and your company. And then what
Yeah,
I do.
but it's the most difficult thing because you always talk to me about authenticity and the importance of being authentic in communication. And we know that I've strayed from that path sometimes. And you were one of the persons that put me back on my track because I was
Yeah, because I thought
getting a
it
little
wasn't
lost, and you
directly
were able to be completely honest and truthful and friend enough to tell me, look, I don't think we're going the right way, and let's refocus and let's get you back to you, because it's very easy to go back to what people expect of you and what you think people want and deviate yourself from your authentic self, flaws and all. But it's kind of difficult because you're vulnerable. So you always talk about the power of authenticity, but in the end you are writing for someone else, and you can remain authentic like you do. When I read something, I question, who wrote this? Was it me? Was it Vera? And so that is very difficult. That is a very difficult thing to do, not only to adjust to the business itself, to the kind of activity, but also then to get inside the person's personality and be able to write as they were the person. So that's
I guess
like,
I can't really explain how exactly I do it. I just know that I ask questions. You guys give me the answers. I go back to what I already have from content that you gave me, because in the beginning it was you writing it. I was just doing the design, and I was doing the content revision to see if things, from more of a copywriting point of view, to see if the sentences were written in a way that would be nice sounding, because sometimes we write as we speak, right? And I usually like that. I like for us to keep your personal quirks in speech in our text, because I think that comes across to your audience in a way that is most personable and approachable.
unfiltered.
But the content is always yours, so I never create something out of thin air just for you. It's just what is important to you, what is happening in your business, what are the topics that you want to share. And then obviously I have this massive perk of knowing you, and we have a friendship over the business side of. So it's very easy for me right now, because it has been over a year, to say, well, Raquel would never say this, but Raquel would say that. Raquel doesn't believe this, so she wouldn't say something like that, so she would say something like this.
Sometimes you come up with themes and subjects for newsletters, and I'm like, these are technical things from a specific or for a specific activity or field. How can you do that with a nursing business, for Christ's
It's two
sakes?
sides of a coin. It's two sides of a coin. It's research. It's and research with you giving me some input as well, because when I do that kind of research, I always pass it through you. But then it's another facet of the coin, which I think is changing everything right now. And that's AI, right? So artificial intelligence is a tool. It's impossible for me to have all of the knowledge about all of these technical things that my clients are the experts on. I don't create businesses. You create businesses, but it's impossible for me in my brain to have all of the information you have in yours. And for me to do this with every client I have. So I do have a library of things, of content, information, research that I do. But then I do things that changed my life since it started, which is asking ChatGPT explain this to me like I was 5 years old. I did a lot of courses on artificial intelligence. I'm actually doing another one now, more specific for bots and things like that, which is very niche, very specific. ChatGPT can be a tool that helps us massively. What we just need to be aware of, it's a tool like your email marketing platform, like your Google Calendar, like your email, like your CRM. It's another tool. And tools, we use them for an output that we need and serves us. He's not my master. ChatGPT doesn't own me. I own it. So I tell him what I want, I tell him what I need, and I train him specifically for it to give me the best thing. How do I explain this? The way I work with ChatGPT is through a reverse engineering prompts. So I put it doing the
Simple.
prompts. But the main thing is, let's do research. Let's see what there's on offer for us. When Canva was created for
Mm,
make design accessible for everyone, it was massive, right?
hmm.
When, I don't know, when video editing tools that were very complex started to get
Yeah.
streamlined to be more intuitive and easier, things like that. So it's always the same thing. So what I do in my line of work is I work with entrepreneurs. They're all different. They all require different things from me. I need to understand you guys really well. So I need to be on my toes asking you questions that will help me in my line of work. And that's how I managed to do it. So it's me writing, it's asking ChatGPT to help me, it's sending things to you for you to revise and give me active feedback on it. It's me working on that feedback.
There's a almost a psychological component to that where you get into the tone and the voice of the person, and that I think is massive. And exactly what you said. So the ability to use several tools, not be puppets of them, but you using them to your service. And we are reaching a topic that I really wanted you to to speak about. I realized the importance of delegation. Now, delegation is like a principle of any entrepreneur, and a lot of people do micromanaging, and that's a killer of business. We'll talk a lot about this in we go through business consultancy, but you cannot micromanage and you really have to delegate. But delegation takes trust, right? Because you have to trust the person that you're delegating to, that they're going to perform the way you want them to perform. But I would like you to talk about the importance of delegation and how you view from your end, the receiving end of that delegation, the responsibility and the whole ecosystem, because it's not just newsletters, is knowing the person. It's when you're a virtual assistant, there's a lot of different stuff that you can do, so you have to really be able to pick up on faults or on the abilities of people that you're serving, so your clients. So you really have to know what they suck at so that you can go and be great at it and do that task for them. So
Yeah, so I actually can speak now from some sort of experience on both ends, on receiving and
right.
delegating, because I'm delegating as well, like now. Um, and yes, trust, it's important. So I would always say for you to have on board on your team, especially when your business is starting out and you are just for the first time feeling like you need help. Find someone that you feel like resonates with you, whose values are similar to you,
Mhm.
of the way they speak, the way they communicate, that resounds with you. Because look, I wouldn't want someone with values completely opposite from mine. I
Right.
wouldn't want a workaholic to be taking over my business, because that's not me. On the other hand, I really like the people I have working with me because I feel like they complement me. So I'm not saying find someone exactly like you. I find saying find someone who resonates with you, who you feel comfortable with, but that complements you. So what I do is, when I'm going to give a very simple example, know that we have weekly newsletters for Lighthouse. I'm focusing on the newsletters because it's the
Yeah.
easiest. We have four or five newsletters per month. They are sent on Fridays. So on Monday, I'm after you to either approve the topic or my research or whatever. And then I say, okay, the news is to be sent on Friday. So I know myself and I know I'm a stressor person. Like I get jitters, I get nervous, but I'm very good at procrastinating. Okay. So if the deadline is Friday, my deadline is Thursday. So that pushes everything forward 2 or 3 days for me to have the time to do everything and give you time for you to review. So that's why on Monday and Tuesday, I'm stressing you out and
And
asking.
you're after me. But you have to be, because and the amazing thing, we've worked together long enough to go through different stages. And times where that I have a lot of things to talk about and there's a lot of things that I want to say. And then there's periods where I'm like, I don't know, like, what do I have to say? I can come up with anything to say that's that's value. And one of the things that you do is you give me those pointers. I mean, the times where I was like, Vera, like, I'm out. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Help me. And then you come up with like 4 or 6 subjects that we talk about in the newsletters. And so that is very important as well, is that when your client is really faulting at something, that you can see that and go and that fault. And so when I'm out of inspiration, I know that I can trust you to go, okay, Raquel, you can talk about these things, this, or we can reuse or recycle material or whatever it is, because that's another thing that a lot of people don't know. We're producing a lot of content, and then you just said something so simple. It sounded so simple at the time, and I was like, what? Which was, you are filming yourself while you're talking, right, Raquel? And I was like, you have to do this. Get your phone like to you and film yourself. I'm still talking anyway. And we have like this content now that we can use. That is very useful to people that are not listening or viewing at time. And so it's important to give access to those people too. And so it's like a very simple idea, but it's like mastermind. So it's like crazy genius. So everybody, if you want to
That idea
great.
isn't mine. That idea was someone who taught me, and probably that person who taught me was taught by someone else. So obviously, all of this, again, I don't know everything. Thankfully, I'm excited because there's much more to learn and much more to know how to do. And in a year, I will do things differently, and some things I will hopefully do better. It's just being smart. So I talk about this a lot in my content on my Instagram. And our day has 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I usually say that time is the only thing that is the same for everyone. Everyone on the face of the earth has 24 hours every day, unless you die.
And it's the same seconds,
Nothing you
the
can do
same
about
minutes,
that.
same hours.
We all have 24 hours and we all sleep, and we should be sleeping 8 hours at least, I guess. I know I'm not, but
I think women are supposed to sleep even more.
I think so, and we should. We deserve it. But I can tell you I'm not.
Me neither.
So we take time for sleeping, for eating, for doing the things we need to do. We need to sort out time for our families. I know that for me is a negotiable. I know for you as well. I know how you do it with 3 kids.
I don't.
And then we have our own job. And in our case, all of us, the ones interested in this, if you're listening to us, you either have a business or you're thinking seriously of having one, right? So we need to be clever, and it doesn't come easy. To me, it's like a lot of trial and error, figuring out my organization system for my
Yeah,
everyday.
but it's important that we evolve and that we adapt and that we adjust and we keep learning. And especially as mompreneurs, mom. So it's important, specifically when you're a mom and you have a lot of things in your plate. And I always say, we cannot do it all. So if I'm doing great, like at content and whatever for the business, I know that, it's probably a mess. And when I get my house in order, which I did like in December, because I had like a week break in my business, and I got rid of a lot of things and a lot of junk and a lot of things in my house, and I feel freer. But then when I got back to the business, it's like near, because I was like, oh, I have to figure out this thing. I cannot do CRM. How am I going to organize this? So if we're doing great at one thing, we cannot be doing great at another thing. So
That's the thing about life as well, is like we are always seeking balance, but balance doesn't exist in a 50-50 way. Balance
right.
is today is more important that I get all of these tasks done, because then it's the weekend that I don't want to look at my laptop for 48 hours. And that's balance to me. Balance to me is not being equal on everything at the same time. For me, balance is being very intentional and very focused on what is that I'm going to do and what is that I don't want to do. Which sometimes the I don't want to do weighs even more than what I want to do, to be honest. It's a matter of choosing and then acting on it. And as someone who is pretty to be ADHD here, it's like I can get distracted very easily. So I need to lock all of my distractions. And that means that I have an app on my phone that blocks my phone for I don't know how many hours if I need to.
Wow.
And yes, and it's hard.
I know.
And I love them and then I want to go on them and I can't. But then it focuses me to just get it done. And people sometimes say, "Oh, you're very organized." No, I just fake it. Like I put possible timelines for my own sake. So then I know that I'm very stressed right now getting all of this done. And then I know I can relax and just not be worried about it because it's done. And got
But
it.
it's important
And
because
the
you know
people are
yourself.
relying on me. Yeah, because the thing I hate the most, look, if my content doesn't come out on the days I want it to come out, I'm absolutely fine with it. I don't care. Oh, it didn't come out today. Oh, whatever. Oh, I
Same.
didn't manage to write up the content for something else. Oh, whatever. It's fine. If I have a client that tells me, Vera, can I get this up to, I don't know, that date? I might send it at least 24 hours before or a few hours before or on the morning of the day. There's no thing worse for me job wise than to feel like I failed my clients because to me, my result is your result. I'm only thriving if my clients' businesses are thriving. So if we are doing actions and you're trusting me with those actions, I want to deliver them as the best as I can in the most the way that I look at it and I'm proud of it. And I want you to be happy with it as well. That's why I want to give it a few days. So if you want changes, I can still do them beforehand and things like that. So I wouldn't relax on a weekend if I knew I didn't do something properly or if I knew I failed a deadline for a client. So it's hard, but it's just this juggling act of like trying my best. And obviously sometimes life
Yeah.
happens. You and other clients have always been like the most respectful and the most easygoing and the most empathetic people like ever.
Well, it's easy because you deliver, Vera, and that is something that I see nowadays. I see so many people that are not competent, and I know that 98% of the reason is because they're not happy with what they do. So I think there's like a percentage of factoring liking what you do in being successful and being able to juggle and actually do what you set out to do. And it shows that you like what you do. It shows when people are devoted and dedicated to something that they like to do. And that's why I really wanted you to be on this podcast because you are an inspiration for people and women to actually take that jump and do something that they really like. And even if it's just starting as a backup plan and then moving it on as a principal activity, even not being perfect, and we know that everything happens, but it is very important. And that to me is such a great example to see women not afraid of having businesses, not afraid of taking chances. And I mean, love to see that because but again, it shows that you like what you do because you are very competent because you don't get like, oh, I don't know how to organize and I had ADHD and stuff. You around those things and you have the grace to give yourself that space of not being perfect. And then you extend that to your clients because God knows no client is perfect. I am really far from being that.
At least I know I'm not, and I know you're not striving for perfection. Everyone wants to throw the towel sometimes and things. It's not worth it, in my opinion.
And being able to recognize that this is a path, we will get better, but do that and not be afraid of making mistakes because I think that's a very, it's like do it perfectly or we're afraid of doing it. And I really wanted to talk with you about this because it's not about being perfect. It's not about having 100% of everything. It's about knowing yourself, working around your flaws, organizing or faking that you're organized somehow.
Like I was saying, you have 24 hours. Everyone has 24 hours. You choose what you do with those 24 hours,
Yeah.
besides sleeping, eating, and whatever. And the thing is, Why should you be miserable? Why should
Yeah.
you be unhappy? What kind of role, like if you have a family, what kind of example
Oh,
do you
yeah.
want to give your children? What kind of, like, that was my tipping edge. Like, that was my point of break. It was, I had
Mhm.
this 3 month old infant in my arms, and I was like, what am I teaching him? That I hate what I do, that I hate the way that I'm being made to work when he's 5 months old, like, wait till he's tiny.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, I don't want this. I'm not doing this. I'm not conforming to this. And then I thought of
That,
everything I've done in my life just to go against what people thought I should be doing.
and we have a quite
Doing
similar
this.
path in that sense, that it was our children, this tiny and 4 months old or 3 months old or whatever, that made us make this decision of doing better for ourselves. So this is also something that I want to stress out. Even when you have an infant in your arms, as both of us did, it is still possible. And it's not like we're super women. It's about being humble enough to know that things won't perfect, but actually taking that step.
And
So
now I look back and I think, oh, crazy. You were in postpartum. You're crazy. What were you doing?
yeah,
But it's so worth it. And it's worth it every day. It's
yeah,
absolutely
same,
worth it. All the stress, like, we are going to stress anyway, as you say. Like, stress is always there. So we might as well choose which stress we want to take head on, right?
exactly,
I prefer to deal with the taxes and things like that than to have to do a 9 to 5
yeah,
or 9 to 6. With me, it was always
no,
nine to
yeah,
six, never
never
nine.
nine to
Nine,
nine to
nine to
five.
six, 9 to 7. Like,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So that is amazing, Vera. And I think these were all very important messages that, important to get across. People, Vera's example, she's a mother, she's an entrepreneur, she's a boss CEO. And we're like juggling it all, but we are happy in what we do. And what I also wanted to say this here is the fundamental importance of delegating tasks, because we cannot do it all. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast and highlighting the importance of juggling it all, but being graceful to yourself and knowing that you're not going to be perfect. I wanted to highlight the importance of delegating tasks. And for that, the assistance world is like a big piece of essential peace of mind for any entrepreneur. And thank you so much for being on my team and remaining on my team and being able to handle the chaos and the lack of organization or like any type of organization that I may have. And I will put all your socials and all your connections here. Thank you so much for
Thank
here.
you. A pleasure. It's as always to be chatting with you. It's a pleasure working with you. I really, really enjoy, and I think you have such a great purpose with what you do and the way you help people, because that's one of the main things. Like, it's important to do it all,
Yeah.
so we might as well trust people who know things and are better equipped to do things.
Thank you.